Picture this. You just bought your first condo. The price was right, the location was perfect, and you finally have a place to call your own. You're unpacking boxes, setting up furniture, and starting to feel settled. Then, 3 months later, you get a letter from the Strata Council. There's been water damage in the parking garage, the roof needs replacing, and your share of the bill? $18,000, due in just 60 days. That's the reality for some condo buyers who didn't know what to look for before they signed. And the worst part? Most of these problems are completely avoidable if you know what questions to ask and what red flags to watch for. So in this video, I'm going to break down the types of condos you should never buy in Kelowna, or at least the ones you shouldn't buy unless you've done your homework and know exactly what you're getting into. Because whether you're a first-time buyer trying to get into the market or you're downsizing and looking for something low maintenance, the wrong condo can cost you tens of thousands of dollars and years of stress. So let's get into it. The first type of condo you should never buy in Kelowna is one with a low or a poorly managed contingency reserve fund. Here's what most buyers don't realize. Every strata building collects monthly fees, and a portion of those fees goes into a contingency reserve fund. That fund is supposed to cover major repairs and replacements down the road. Things like roof replacements, elevator maintenance, building envelope repairs, the outside of the building, or repaving the parking lot. When that fund is healthy, those repairs get handled without drama. But when it's not, you get hit with a special assessment, and those can be brutal. I've seen special assessments range from, a few $100s to well over $20,000 per unit, depending on the size of the building and the scope of the work. And here's the thing, if you can't pay it in cash, you're either taking out a loan, putting it on a credit card, or in some cases being forced to sell because you simply can't afford it. So how do you avoid this? Before you even make an offer, ask your realtor to request a copy of the Strata's depreciation report and the Form B. These documents outline the condition of the building, what major repairs are coming up or forecasted, and whether the reserve fund is adequate to cover them. You're looking for a fund that's appropriate for the age and size of the building. A newer building might have a smaller reserve because there's less wear and tear and they've had less time to build up that fund. But an older building should have a substantial cushion for the inevitable repairs that come with the building as it ages. And also, look at the strata meeting minutes. Are there ongoing discussions about deferred maintenance? Are owners consistently voting down necessary repairs to keep their fees low? That's a massive red flag. You want a building where the strata council is proactive, not reactive. And if the building has already levied a special assessment, find out why, how much it was, and whether it's been resolved. One assessment might not be a deal breaker, but a pattern of them might be a sign to walk away. The second type of condo to be careful with is one that has restrictions on rentals or short-term rentals. If you value flexibility or want the option to use platforms like Airbnb later, this is a big deal. Now, here's what you need to know about rental restrictions in BC. As of November 2022, strata corporations in BC cannot prohibit long-term rentals. That means if you need to rent out your unit for a year or more, the building can't stop you. But they can restrict short-term rentals, and many buildings in Kelowna do exactly that. So if you're thinking about using your condo as a short-term rental property, maybe to offset your mortgage while you're away for work or traveling, or to generate income during peak tourism season, you need to check the bylaws before you buy. Some buildings ban short-term rentals outright, while others allow them but with strict conditions, like minimum stay requirements or limits on how many units can operate as short-term rentals at any given time. And this matters more than you might think. Kelowna is a tourism destination, especially in the summer and during ski season. The ability to rent out your place short-term can be a significant financial tool, whether you're trying to cover costs or build extra income. But if the building prohibits it, that option is completely off the table for you. On the flip side though, Some buyers specifically want a building that restricts short term rentals because it creates a more stable residential feel. Buildings with heavy short term rental activity can feel less like a home and more like a hotel with constant turnover, noise, and wear and tear on common areas. So before you remove your subjects, read the strata bylaws carefully. Look for any language around short term rentals, guest policies, and rental approval processes. And if you're not sure what you're reading, ask a professional or a real estate lawyer to walk you through it. This is too important to guess at. Third on this list is never buy a condo without secure parking, especially if you're looking anywhere near downtown Kelowna. Parking might not seem like a big deal when you're touring a unit, but it becomes a massive issue the moment you move in. And I'm not just talking about whether or not you have a spot. I'm talking about secure, covered, underground parking versus an open surface parking lot where your vehicle is exposed to the elements and potential theft and vandalism. In Kelowna, especially closer to downtown or in higher density areas, break ins and vehicle theft are a real concern. If your building only offers surface parking with no gate, no security cameras, and no controlled access, your car can be an easy target. And we've all heard stories about smashed windows, stolen catalytic converters, and vehicles being broken into multiple times in the same year. And if you're storing bikes, skis, or other gear in your vehicle, that risk goes up even more. And beyond security, think about the practical side. Kelowna winters aren't brutal, but we do get snow and ice. Having underground or covered parking means you're not scraping ice off your windshield at 6 a.m. or digging your car out after a snowfall. And in the summer, a covered spot means your interior isn't turning into an oven every afternoon. Now, here's the other part of this. Does the building have enough parking overall? Some buildings only allocate one spot per unit, or less, which is fine if you're single or a couple with only one vehicle. But if you have two cars, or if you regularly have guests visiting, insufficient parking becomes a daily frustration. And guest parking in a lot of Kelowna condos is either non existent or extremely limited. If your friends and family have to park on the street blocks away every time they visit, that gets old really fast. So, when you're viewing a condo, don't just assume parking is a given. Ask how many spots come with the unit, whether they're assigned or first come, first served, what the guest parking situation looks like, and whether parking is secure and covered. And if the building doesn't offer what you need, factor in the cost of renting an additional spot, if that's even an option, or decide if parking is a deal breaker for you. The fourth thing on this list you need to consider is the construction quality and soundproofing of the building, especially the difference between a wood frame and a concrete building. This one's a big deal, and it's something a lot of first time condo buyers completely overlook. In Kelowna, you'll find condos built with wood frame construction and others built with concrete. And while both can be great, they offer very different living experiences, especially when it comes to noise. Wood frame buildings are typically more affordable, both in terms of their purchase price and strata fees in general, because they're cheaper to build and to maintain. But the trade off is soundproofing. In a wood frame building, you're more likely to hear your neighbors. Footsteps from the unit above, conversations through the walls, bass from a sound system or TV, or even someone vacuuming at 7 a.m. If you're someone who values peace and quiet, or if you work from home and need a distraction free environment, a wood frame building might drive you crazy. Concrete buildings, on the other hand, offer much better sound insulation. You'll still hear some noise, especially impact noises like footsteps if the unit above you has hard flooring, but it's generally a quieter living experience. But the downside? Concrete buildings tend to be more expensive to buy and often come with higher strata fees because the building systems are more complex and more costly to maintain. So here's what you need to do. When you're touring a condo, pay attention to the construction type. Ask your realtor, and if it's not clear, ask the strata council or the listing agent. And when you're at a showing, really listen. Can you hear people in the hallway? Can you hear traffic from the street? And can you hear neighboring units? If the building feels loud during a daytime showing, it's probably going to feel even louder when you're trying to sleep or relax in the evening. And here's a pro tip. If soundproofing is a concern, visit the building at different times of day. Go back in the evening or on the weekend when more people are likely to be home. That'll give you a much better sense of what day-to-day noise levels are actually like in the building. And finally, never buy a condo that has poor resale potential. This last one doesn't show up in a building inspection or on a depreciation report, but it's just as important as everything else that we've talked about so far in this video. Even if a condo works perfectly for your needs right now, you want to make sure you're not buying something that's going to be extremely difficult to sell when it's time for you to move somewhere else. Condos with poor resale potential usually fall into a few categories. First, there's location. If the building is on a busy, noisy road, your buyer pool shrinks significantly. In Kelowna, that means buildings along, Harvey Avenue, which is Highway 97. And for those of you who aren't from here, Harvey Avenue is the main highway running through the city. It's how we move goods up and down the Okanagan. So think 18-wheelers, gravel trucks, oversized loads, and big transport rigs rumbling past you at all hours. Plus, there's the constant hum of everyday traffic. And it's not just daytime noise. You've also got cars with loud exhaust, motorcycles, and loud trucks all hours of the day and night. Even if you're in a newer building with decent windows, you'll rarely get any true quiet time. And the same thing applies for parts of Gordon Drive and Springfield Road. Both are major routes within the city that see heavy traffic throughout the day. And while some people don't mind traffic noise, the resale pool for those properties is always smaller. And if the market shifts or inventory climbs, those condos are often the first to sit. Beyond the location, you have to watch out for odd or impractical layouts. I'm talking about units with no natural light, awkward floor plans where the living room is smaller than the bedroom, or condos with no proper storage space. These quirks might not bother you, but they'll absolutely bother the next buyer, and that limits your resale options. You also want to be cautious with buildings that have excessive amenities if you're budget conscious. Some newer buildings come loaded with gyms, pools, doormen, party rooms, and rooftop patios. And while those amenities sound amazing, they come with a cost. The more amenities a building has, the higher the strata fees typically are. And if you're someone who values low monthly costs and you're not going to use those amenities, you're essentially paying for things you don't need. And when it comes time to sell, buyers who are also budget focused might pass on your building for those same reasons. So before you fall in love with a unit, ask yourself this: would I buy this again in 5 years? And more importantly, would the next buyer want to? Ask your realtor to pull comparable sales data for the building and for the area. Look at how long units are sitting on the market and what they're selling for compared to the asking price. Because resale isn't just about the condo itself, it's about location, lifestyle appeal, and long-term value. So those are the 5 types of condos I'd approach with serious caution here in Kelowna. Low or poorly managed contingency reserve funds, short-term rental restrictions if you need that flexibility, inadequate or insecure parking, poor soundproofing depending on your budget and lifestyle, and limited resale potential. None of these are automatic deal breakers, but you need to go in with your eyes open, your questions ready, and your numbers need to be sharp. If you've made it this far in the video and found this information useful, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Or, if you're ready to talk about your next move, there's a link in the description to book a call with me. And if you'd like to see exactly what's happening in the Kelowna real estate market right now, check out this playlist right here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.